Welcome to Real Talk with Real Estate Pros, where we bring you exclusive interviews with the real estate experts. We'll delve deep into their journey to success and learn how to go the extra mile to serve their clients' wants and needs. Let's dive in. Here's your host, John Money McKinley.
Good morning, everyone. This is John Money McKinley here with your weekly edition of Real Talk with the Real Estate Pros. And today I've got an expert in on the show with us. His name is Doonan, and he's going to really be bringing a lot of his expertise in the real estate market here in Houston to the table, and going to be able to share with y'all a lot of good information about what's really happening in the market. And without any further ado, Drew, welcome on board. I'm glad you were able to make it on today.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, pleasure having you on here. And I'm really glad you're here. And I know you've got a lot of experience. And one of the things that I liked about what you were bringing to the table, you seem to have some experience as well in the home construction side of things. And that's where I come from. That's what brought me into the world of real estate on the mortgage side. So love for you to kind of share with us a little bit of that experience.
Yeah. So my background kind of dovetailed into the seat I'm sitting in now. Started even before the construction. Actually, I was in banking and finance for almost a decade. And then actually found myself jumping from the seat of the banker to the borrower, and that's how I got to the construction side.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now, were you involved in the home building side, or were you actually in there with your tools and working with your hands out in the?
No, I once a money guy, always a money guy. No, so I was. It was helping. It was borrowing money to help, get a house fixed up, and I was not the contractor. No. We've always outsourced that. That's a full-time gig. You got to have somebody on site. You got to have a pro.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like my experience in the construction side is started out remodeling and then became an electrician for many, many years. And then that led me into real estate, which I kind of went the opposite of you. It sounds like you were in the financial side, didn't really like it as much as the actual real estate side. And you kind of lean more towards the real estate, where I did the exact opposite.
Yeah, no, I was helping people make decisions with their money before, and it's kind of the same. It's very similar, right? Because it's just, instead of a liquid asset and, talking retirement goals or a loan to do this for your company, now it's the nature of you need this for now, and there's still ultimately financial. There's still a financial goal, but major lifestyle component, obviously.
And as well as I do, especially with real estate, that's typically one of the largest financial investments that people make in their lives. I mean, there's so much that's involved in that as far as a person's financial net worth is their real estate.
Yep, it is. It is like the largest purchase that a consumer will make in their life, and yeah, I mean the way it's gone about for the most part, you'd be surprised how little thought goes into a lot of people to make that decision. But that's why we try to make it more goal, big picture focus. Talk about helping them not only when they buy it, what's the goal when they sell it, before they close on it to begin with. It's just like, any trade and finance. It's, you're always talking about the exit before you even open the position, right? Like, what's your goal? Why are you buying this? What's going on? Things like that.
And I find that's always a very important thing is okay, we know you want a house because you need a place to eat and sleep, but let's dig a little deeper into, okay, what are your goals? What are your plans? How long are you staying in this location? As I mean, you'd be surprised when I'm sure you've seen it when you sit there and take the time to actually start talking with people and getting them to open up. Do you find that they will actually start digging deeper into what they're wanting to do and what they're wanting to accomplish? And do you find sometimes that actually kind of changes their housing mind on what they were originally working with?
Yeah, our process is I want to say it's uh, we ask the hard questions. We do a lot more educating than we do selling, and we definitely put forward our relationship, right? So we just don't want them to buy a house so they can buy a house and sell it. Oh, they bought it. Okay, great. Why'd you buy it, right? And there's so many benefits to why you want to buy it. Um, and as far as making sure that you have the conversation, well, when you buy this, this is what it's going to be like when you go to sell this, right? So like any kind of negative aspects that you would have in it, like even conditions like mechanical ages, right? So you're buying this with a roof like this in 7-10 years, you're going to call us to sell this home. And if you didn't replace your roof, everything's going to be end of life, right? So all that stuff's going to come up on the inspection report. So we can either deal with things up front now, or you need to know about that's coming due when you do eventually sell the house, which everyone will sell their homes. Um,
Now, do you focus? Because I've noticed here I was looking into some of your background with your family, and if I'm understanding this correctly, you're an actual third generation real estate professional in your family. Is that correct?
yep, third generation. My papa was in Jacksonville, Florida. He was a broker emeritus. And then my mother got into the business here in Houston when she moved here in the late 70s. And then I became a statistic in our family when I went full time in 2017, and went and partnered up, started working with my mother.
Oh, okay, great. Now, how long have you been? Because I know you were in the financial side and the construction side to begin with. How long have you been in the actual real estate side, as far as on the real estate brokerage side?
Uh, Full time since 2017. So what is that, like almost 8 years?
Oh, okay, wow. Now, I don't want this to be a trick question, but I'm gonna throw this out there. Okay, you got involved in 2017, so you've seen some definite, how should I put it, very changing landscape in this Houston market of real estate. What are some of your thoughts on kind of where we were in the world of real estate to where we are now? Because I know a lot of things that I'm seeing with the people that I'm talking with on a daily basis is there seems to be a lot of fear going on with people, and they're not sure what to do with real estate. Because let's be honest, a lot of the stuff you're going to see on the television is coming from people, one, who really don't have any experience in the real estate side. And they're basically, paid actors up there delivering the news. And right now, things are not as peachy keen as they used to be just a few years ago. So I say all that to say, kind of fill us in on what some of your insights are that somebody who's listening to this now or in the future could really take away from this if they're trying to decide what should they do if they're looking into the world of real estate right now, whether it's for buying to live in or buying as an investment even.
Right. So you're saying that potential buyers are scared to do things right now. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm noticing. And I think a lot of it is fear out of
Yeah.
not knowing what's happening or what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think we have. Yeah. I think everyone's always when there's unknown, there's going to be fear, and I guess we are now we're going into the second um, spring of kind of what I would call a normal market, right? So the fear when it was a year round market from 21 to 22, and there was very few unknowns. It was like, hey, this real estate, it was a super positive tone, right? Real estate was going gangbusters. Well, now we're going to last year as we rolled into the 2023 fall, right? Or the 2022 fall, we had rates climbing. We had the same emotions that we're having right now. It was historic rates, and then activity slowed down dramatically, and through the end of the year, and we were able to get smoking deals for our buyers, smoking deals. And then springtime rolled around like it does in every normal market, and we were back in multiple offers. The great migration happened. People are still busting out of their houses, have growing families, life events happening. And then now we're back into the seasonal slowdown. So yeah, that seasonal slowdown with, all this geopolitical stuff, and then more headlines. Again, the headlines, they have a way of gripping our average consumer and confusing them, really. And so I'm not really nervous about what's going on in our Houston market. It's I think it's I think it's, if you sold real estate before 2021, 2022, I mean, we used to have, John, we would have house on the market for 90 days, and then we'd have two reloads come to town on the same day, and we go multiple offers. I mean, it would be crazy over, but we'd get really close to full ask. So I just think you have a real disconnect with expectations from the previous market and the market we're in now, and it's just got people nervous because they don't know how to they don't know how to adjust to it.
Yeah, that's kind of something I've noticed too, is because a lot of people, typically somebody like you and I, we're involved in real estate on a daily basis, and I catch myself from time to time having to remember that when I'm talking with people. I'm like, okay, this is not something they do every day, so I need to make sure that I'm sharing them all my years of experience on explaining to them. When I first got in this business in the late 90s, I remember people were so excited because a lot of people today don't remember in Texas, if you owned a home you lived in, you couldn't pull cash out. That used to be against the Texas law. And then when I first got in the business on the mortgage side, people were like, oh my gosh, you can actually give me a mortgage. And I'm giving people mortgages in the 7%. And they thought I came from heaven. Not only could they give them cash, I was giving them rates in the sevens because they were in the nines.
Yep, that's perspective, and yeah, and experience is the ultimate perspective. So that makes sense. So and like you said, you start to see a lot of, you see the same stories over and over again. You'll start to understand that we've seen this movie. Make the decisions you got to make. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of I do a lot of work with real estate investors as well, and I've been involved in real estate investing since the 90s, and I've seen the trends of real estate in America. It does up and down, up and down, but if you look at the long-term trend of real estate, long-term in America, it's always moving in an upward direction.
Right. And and I want to, take a step back from that. That I mean, residential real estate is hyper local, right? Um, so the trend of the average, I've never considered our market to be average. Houston is an exceptional town. I, I'm a lifer, bo- born and raised here in town. And I do think that, if you look at our trend during the crazy years, we were so far. We were no Austin, we were no Dallas, we were no LA, New York. Like Houston has always had gone to our own drum, if you will, right? So I do think that when you see all these national headlines, these national averages, and you start seeing, oh, well, so XYZ, well, you know, every neighborhood in Houston is their own story, right? Like you go to some neighborhoods, we have multiple offers right now in our off slow season. But if you go to another neighborhood, you've got houses that you couldn't buy, Shelly. And that's because residential real estate is hyper local, and you have to work with or consult with experts, right, in those markets to truly understand what's going on. So, circling back, if people are nervous about, one of their largest asset in their portfolio, which would be their home, you should definitely just pick up the phone, start calling your local experts. And I say local experts because you should get multiple opinions. There's no monopoly on it, and you'll sleep much better with doing that little round robin of, hey, and I do it professionally on the phone this morning. I was calling around, asking about a certain neighborhood. Hey, what are we seeing? Talking to my fellow professionals. What's going on? What are y'all seeing? What's the traffic? What's coming? Do you have anything? This is not a transparent, efficient market, right? This is you got to call and talk and get information because, like I said, this is so hyper local, and the information is sometimes not all readily available and on the internet.
Oh, exactly. And that's something I'm glad you brought that up on your localized professional. Whether you're here in the Houston market, whether you're in the San Antonio market, whether you're in the Dallas market, or any market across the country, it is so important to deal with localized experts, whether it's on the lending side, whether it's on the real estate side, because you know as well as I do, Drew, somebody in because you've seen these big .com real estate companies, the Red Doors and the other big corporations that do all of that advertising and spend all of that money with their Super Bowl commercials. Well, guess what? That's a big giant corporation that's out there. Who knows where the main headquarters is? You want to make sure you're dealing with a local professional, because as you said, Drew, real estate is very, very, very localized.
Hyper local, and those big shops too, God bless them, they're giving lots of young bucks an opportunity to go learn on their dime. So, and we need great experts because it's hard to start out in this business, and I know a lot of young agents are going to those bigger shops and doing that. So I get, and consumers, they got to have options, right? So I'm all for it. I'm all for the innovation, and they've raised the bar in a lot of respects. But ultimately, if you want the best, you have to go local. And when I say local, I mean like your neighborhood expert.
Exactly, exactly. It's because I'm sure you've heard of it. We have appraisals that are done on properties that's done by a real appraiser that actually goes out to the property and knows the market area. And then we also have what's called an AVM, the automated valuation systems. And those have never been spot on accurate. It's like, I'm sure you get people. I was looking online, Drew, and I got my Zestimate here. It says this, and you start pulling up numbers and go, okay, well, let's get together. Let's take a much more localized look.
And again, like when I was at the bank, we used to. It was kind of the we used to like the standard, like the estimates are kind of a standard deviation, which standard deviation is like the difference, right? Was kind of a 10% plus or minus, which is not a bad starting point. It's a good ballpark, but yeah, no, you have to dial in. Like I've got 2 off market comps that Zillow doesn't have, and Zillow also doesn't know if a house smells like 20 cats live in it, right? Like, so again, I so embrace all the technology, all the innovation, and these information aggregates do a great job of providing resources. But ultimately, if you want to outperform and have the best accountability and the best outcomes, you need to work with your local professional.
Need to have that human touch involved that can actually discern and see what's going on and be able to comprehend the data that's coming in.
Right. Because and there's again, the harp on it, like this is our business is not an efficient market. The information, um, the information just isn't like all these charts and everyone who wants to play with numbers. Yeah, it's really good, but there is so much stuff and so much context from being in the trenches to really know what's going on. Um, and that can be the difference between the right house and the wrong house, um, the right time and the wrong time.
Exactly. Now, do you mainly work with people that are buying homes to live in, or do you also work with real estate investors? I'd like to find out a little bit more about that as well.
So I would say actually, almost 90% of our business is referral, and it is they're normal people buying and selling their homes, um, retail, and that's where my heart is. I love it. Um, we do work. I do have developers and builders that I work with, that are improving and enhancing our neighborhoods. We really don't work with a lot of investors that are buying at major volumes and target certain areas. Our markets really just don't that we operate in. There's just not a lot of that, not a lot of room for that. It's mainly going to just be families and then builder developers looking to improve our neighborhoods.
And right now, that's another huge thing that is a valuable part of what we need in our real estate market is the builders and developers, because that's another thing that is hurting the prices on homes, keeping them elevated, even with the little bit higher interest rates, is the fact of the lower inventory. And that's nice to know that you've actually got access to some good builders and developers that are working to continue to provide the supply that, let's be honest, Houston, you've been here your whole life. I've been here since 88. Houston has always been growing as long as I've been here.
Yep. And the best days are ahead. And my we're not going anywhere. But yes, no, we need more houses. And right now, for the most part, every buyer is potentially a seller and there's nothing to buy. So we, we gotta create them. So that's what we're trying to do.
I remember a time in Houston, there was only one loop around the city. Now there's three.
I feel like there's five in my head. There's literally
Say what?
I feel like there's five loops in my head sometimes. I mean, literally, we see the same stories every day in this business. Like literally.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I remember when they first started putting up the Beltway, I was like, oh my gosh, and it just opened up so much more to the city. And I have some people that come in from out of town, and when they get here, they're just amazed. I'm like, look, going to the other end of town, you got to pack a lunch. I mean, you just don't get from one end of the town.
John, you know this, like if you're in the loop, I feel like everything's 20, 25 minutes away, even with just stoplights. And then you hit the freeways, everything's 30, 40. But for the most part, I do feel like everything is accessible in Houston, and, traffic, obviously the factor, but that's the beauty of we're so spread out, but still it's like, you talk about national commutes, you hear people commuting over an hour each way in Chicago or New York. Here, it's like 45 minutes. And I mean, I love Houston. Our best days are so ahead of here. And the number one reason I would tell people to move to this town would be opportunity, period. Opportunity and the facets of it.
Oh, there's so much opportunity. And just like I do, each side of Houston, north side, east side, west side, they each have so much to offer somebody, especially if they're working in that area. And there's such a vast difference. I mean, you can be in a place like where I'm located in the Woodlands, and have all of the amenities we have up here. But then let's go all the way down to the south side of town into the Clear Lake area, just a completely different area. But on both sides of the spectrum, there's so much job opportunity. There's just so much, there's so many things to do down there that it's fascinating.
We're rich with culture, and culture is the lifeblood of any city, period. That's what made New York what it is, and that's what makes Houston what it is.
And we may actually have a football team now, but I don't want to speak too loud because we don't know how long it could last.
Yeah, we're a sports town, right? You got to love it.
Exactly. We got the Astros, we got the Rockets, and we got the Texans. So
yes, and we have a quarterback. Most importantly, right now, finally, right?
Well, my producers let me know we need to start getting things wrapped up here, but I'd like to leave with this, Drew. If you could tell me, what is one piece of advice that you could give to somebody looking to do something in real estate, whether it's buying or selling? What is one solid piece of advice you could give to somebody right now?
Right now, the one piece of solid advice that I would give, it's kind of my mantra too, right? Like, don't force any deals, right? Never force a deal, and do your homework, right? So that's all I got. That's just partnering with the right professionals to get a deal done. So yeah, that's the one advice I got.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you having you on here, Drew. And if you would, please let my listeners and audience know if they need to get a hold of you, they want to get some real solid advice on what to do in the world of real estate in the Houston and surrounding area. How can they get a hold of you, Drew?
All over the internet. Give me a Google.
Yeah, I missed that. One more time. You broke up on me there, Drew.
I was saying the best way to get a hold of me is through my cell phone. That number is all over the. So just give me a Google. I pick up my phone always.
Perfect. Well, it's been great having you on, Drew, and I look forward to possibly having you on again in the future. You have a great day.
Awesome.
Thank you all for tuning in. Hope to see you here next week on Real Talk with Real Estate Pros.